At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Doug.
Limu and I always tell you to customize your car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. But now, we want you to feel it. Cue the emu music, Limu.
Save yourself money today. Increase your wealth. Customize and save, we say.
That may have been too much feeling.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
We're broadcasting relationship truths and scientific discoveries with a comedian's touch. The Last Show with David Cooper.
A new study says junk food is great for you and helps you remember things. And by that, I mean a new study has said just the opposite. Junk food can scramble your brain. Here to discuss is an astrophysicist at York University who is the co-author of Daydreaming in the Solar System, and his name is Dr. Jesse Rogerson. It's science time. Jesse, welcome to the show.
David, thanks for having me.
I didn't like this study at all because
Do you feel seen?
I do feel seen. They studied me specifically. No, I remember seeing this in a movie, and I forget which movie. It's like when you're a kid, you can eat whatever you want, and then when you're an adult, you have like a Big Mac or a piece of pizza, and you feel ill for a week. And I have been eating less junk food as an adult. We all kind of intuitively know that it's bad for you, mostly because it's bad for, I don't know, your body. But is it bad for your brain, I think, is another question.
Yeah, and surprisingly, how fast it's bad for your brain. This is just a fascinating study. It's done in mice, but it was what's the impact of switching to a diet that's high in fat, like, pizza and cheeseburgers and fries and stuff like that. The stuff that I eat all the time. And so what they wanted to know is, does this affect the brain chemistry and how fast does it do that? And they did it with mice by putting them through some tests. So they took a group of mice and fed them a high-fat diet, a group of mice and fed them like a normal, regular control diet, and then put them through specific tests that check their memory. For example, they would introduce them to a space with objects in it and let them play around, take them out of the space, move one of the objects, and then put the mouse back and see if that mouse could find the object that had been moved. Memory, right? And and they did this test. And they found...
See what I did there? I forgot what we were talking about. No,
what?
Okay.
And
mice, and they're not so different than us, mice brains, right?
Physiologically, mice are a good first step. When you're testing out something, their anatomy and their physiology have some similarities to humans. And so if you want to test something out, you do it on mice, and then that indicates whether or not it might have something happening in humanity, and then you can start working towards human trials. So here they found, high-fat diet makes you forget things. It affects the hippocampus where memories are made in a very specific way, and it does it in as little as 4 days. So that's sort of the surprising result, that you can start eating really bad, and that'll have an effect on your heart over years, but it might affect your brain in a week.
This study doesn't account for the fact that when I put my wallet in random places in the apartment and my girlfriend finds it, she puts it in the front of the house and I never look there. It doesn't account for that. But yeah, I feel like there are days when I scramble to find my keys and there are days when I'm not. I guess I should think, if I can remember, whether I've eaten junk food when I'm going on one of these wild goose chases for an item. Are you the kind of person who scrambles for keys around the home?
I'm always looking for things, and my wife is also very good at keeping things organized. So, keeping me on track. I benefit very strongly from putting things exactly where I want them, and then that is not always where I end up finding them. So I don't know how that happens, but I have the exact same problem.
Is the conclusion here that no amount of junk food is good? I feel like I was talking to someone yesterday about social media, that it's bad for our brains and makes us lonely. Of course, we don't need to see a study for that. And I asked, is any amount good? And she didn't really give me a good answer. Is any amount of junk food okay?
I mean, I feel like if you ask a medical doctor or nutritionist, is any amount okay, they would say probably not a lot is okay. Probably not, right? It is really bad for you, that food. Um, I would say that the bigger implications are things surrounding that. We sort of always know the idea that food affects us, but this is affecting us really quickly. So you should be cognizant of that. But another big sort of conclusion that comes from this is when we're thinking about memory problems for things like obesity-induced Alzheimer's, or sort of those degenerative things that happen to our brain, dementia that affects our memory. This might be part of the story and like what the food is. So it's not just about your heart anymore. It's not just about your ability to walk up and down stairs, whether you're exercising or have good cardiovascular system. It's you should really be thinking about this long term and short term. And so I would say the less you can eat it, the better.
But nobody makes friends with kale. So,
Kale chips,
if you want to make friends, I should eat healthier, I think is the conclusion here. It is kind of shocking how quickly it happened in mice. Just 4 days.
Just 4 days.
You'd think, okay, if I eat cheeseburgers for a year, fine, I'm gonna go to mush. My body's gonna be bad. It might affect my brain. But this quickness of it, I think, is what's so startling for me.
You know what made me think about it, and a question I have for the researchers is does that mean they said in the study that if you fix your diet, so if you take the high fat out, or you do some sort of fasting, and you restore glucose to your brain in the right amounts, because your glucose sugar is what your brain runs on, and you get that back to normal, then the effects can change back. So if you're taking care of yourself, and if your diet is mostly good foods, mostly fruits and vegetables, and not high fat things, you can reverse the effects rather quickly. So my question is, how long do I have to do that for? Is it 4 days, or do I have to do it for 2 weeks? And how much sort of leeway do I have both ways, I guess, is my question.
That is the big question. And we've got the researchers here to surprise you. It's the Jerry Springer Show. Jerry. Now, I love nutrition advice from an astrophysicist. Next, we'll do astrology. No, let's do something a little more in your wheelhouse here. I remember watching that movie Melancholia, and for those who didn't see it, it's kind of this bleak picture of this rich, dysfunctional family out in the English countryside, kind of the awful things going on in their life. And then a rogue planet comes and hits Earth and everybody dies. It's a very, the movie's called Melancholia. It's a very melancholy movie.
Yeah.
But I remember watching and thinking, just how quickly could we be smashed by a rogue planet? And a planet is just an object, a huge one that's not in orbit around our sun, just floating out there between the stars, and it could enter our solar system and hurt us. Now, this story has nothing to do with that, but it has something to do with rogue planets. We have found one. I didn't even know we could detect these things because they're kind of famously dark.
So rogue. Yeah. Well, first of all, Melancholia was such an interesting movie, and the play of like how disaster affects people. It was a really interesting movie. I highly recommend it. But yeah, the universe is a crazy place, and our wonderful little solar system that we live in is not necessarily the norm everywhere, right? You have stars out there. There are planets out there. We think that planets and stars form together. They collapse. A gas cloud collapses down, makes a star in the middle, and planets around it. That's not necessarily the case. We have found many of these planets that are just shooting through space, untethered, no star nearby. They're not orbiting anything. It's just a planet that's out there flying around. And there are two ways they may exist. They may form. One, maybe they formed that way. Maybe they've literally formed by a little cloud of gas, a tiny cloud of gas collapsing down, not big enough to make a star, and you get a planet-sized object. The second way they may form is that they did form part of a solar system, and then somehow through gravitational kinetics got ejected out of the system early on. So like two stars, clash and they come near each other, and the orbits and the gravity get all chaotic, and a planet gets ejected, for example. Totally plausible scenario. So that's, and honestly, to be honest with you, before reading this study, I thought that was pretty much how we all thought that they're out there. That gravitational collapse of a cloud, a planet gets kicked out of that, and you have rogue planets. But then this paper is studying this rogue planet that's out there, and they are hard to find, which means usually the ones we do find are the biggest most ginormous ones, they're 5-10 times more massive than Jupiter, which means they're really hot. And so with infrared telescopes, we can find them. You can
So they
detect the
glow,
heat.
and that's how we find them. Because
That's
normally
right.
it's just dark rock, and you can't even see them.
Yeah, that's right. So if you have like an Earth-like rogue planet, that'd be like really hard to find.
So when we come back with Dr. Jesse Rogerson, an astrophysicist, grammar, how does it work? We will talk about why this newly discovered rogue planet is so interesting and why it's like nothing we have ever seen before, he said slowly into his microphone. We'll be back with Jesse in a moment.
Upgrade your laundry routine with a durable and reliable Maytag laundry pair at Lowe's. Like the new Maytag washer and dryer with performance-enhanced stain-fighting power, designed to cut through serious dirt and grime. And what's great is this laundry pair is in stock and ready for delivery when you need it the most. Don't miss out. Shop Maytag in-store or online today at Lowe's.
Exploring both interstellar and interpersonal space-time continuums. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are here with Dr. Jesse Rogerson, an astrophysicist, talking about rogue planets. These are dark objects, generally, floating out there between stars, planets that aren't gravitationally bound by stars. And you can check out Jesse's book, Daydreaming in the Solar System, and he works at York University. And I'll stop talking. Jesse, welcome back to the show.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I didn't think we could detect these things. I just thought they were theoretical, but it turns out if they're big enough, they kind of get hot and they kind of glow. And so one was newly detected, and it isn't fitting any known classification. It's kind of like a new discovery.
Here's the weird story about it. Like if it's just a planet that's out there flying around, you should just see a glowing dot from the hot planet. It's like a hot Jupiter. But this one seems to have evidence of accretion happening. What that means is the planet is there, and then there's a disk of material around it falling onto it, and that is called an accretion disk. And that accretion disk is lighting up a lot. It's very turbulent. It's making big bursts, and this is behavior of how stars form. So the researchers asked the question, like, okay, how do planets, or specifically, how do rogue planets form? Are they kicked out, like we said before, from a planetary forming system? Or can they form in the way stars form in this accretion process? And how would you be able to tell the difference? So they pointed the Very Large Telescope at this. This is a telescope down in Chile. They pointed the James Webb Space Telescope at it, and they collected data on outbursts, on the chemical makeup of the disk, and they found that this rogue planet is acting exactly like a star would. There's not enough mass there for it to become a star. It never ignited fusion in the core. It's not shining like the sun does, but all of the other things about it, all of the outbursts and material that's there, the chemistry in the disk around it, is behaving exactly like how a star forms. So how do rogue planets exist? Where do they come from? It seems like they can just form on their own. A planetary mass object just out there in space, formed out of a gas cloud just like a star does.
And it's not just gravity that can pull this stuff in and rotate and make it rotate around. It's also magnetism that can cause this.
Yeah, that's one of the things they were looking into is stars are nuts. Stars are these big balls of plasma. Like our sun has an incredibly intricate and intense magnetic field. Just because of the gas that's there, it's spinning really quickly. It got this big dynamo effect. So big, huge magnetic field, and that affects how material falls towards it. And so you can actually see the effects of magnetic fields in accretion. This is also something we're interested in supermassive black holes, by the way, how magnetic fields affect how black holes eat. It's a whole interesting topic. But you wouldn't think that would be something that's a dominant factor in how planets form, because planets are small, they're not big balls of plasma, they don't have the same level of dynamo, like level of magnetism that a star would have. Planets have magnetism, but not to the same degree. So they also saw that this planetary mass object was again acting like a star, that using a magnetic field to sort of capture and funnel stuff towards it and affect how the accretion disk is. It's it's and the what I love about this story is I was completely blown away by the fact that a rogue planet can just form on its own. I thought you need a star for it to form around, but you don't.
Okay, well, great. I'm still scared of one smacking into the Earth.
Chance. See, that's a really good question, because what is the chance of anything, not just a planet, but literally anything, comet, asteroid, planet, moon, black hole, star, of going through our solar system? It is non-zero. There has been 3 that we've discovered. 3I Atlas, the interstellar comet.
Yeah, that one's flying by as close
Right
as
now.
it's going to be. Like in what, 2 or 3 weeks? It's going to be the closest to Earth and the
Right.
sun. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll talk about it in the coming weeks. But
Right.
like objects from outside our solar system can come in and wreak havoc, and we can't control it unless we blow it up with a nuke or something like
Obviously,
that. Bruce
yeah.
Willis, we need you. And Bruce Willis isn't well. He's in like palliative care or whatever. So how are we going to save the Earth?
I hope he trained someone else. I really do. I guess Ben Affleck is the next guy.
I assume. I don't know. I don't remember that documentary, Armageddon or whatever. Okay, this one is kind of scary to me because when we explore space, we typically like sterilize the equipment we use so that we don't contaminate the planet we're visiting. I don't know, Mars, some moon, with our probes, with our spacecraft, with bacteria. But in one of these clean spacecraft assembly rooms that are supposed to be bacteria, viruses, life-free, it turns out one bacteria was found and it can thrive. And it also opens up cool questions about like bacteria and funguses existing on asteroids and comets because they can be in this dormant state, playing dead. We don't think it's alive. And then, I don't know, give it some water, give it some oxygen, boom. There's your bacteria, either sent from us to outer space or from outer space to us. Is that the origins of life? An alien probe where they didn't sterilize it properly? I don't know.
We should talk to Avi Loeb. But this is one of those wild stories that the idea of like super bacteria or like antibacterial resistant organisms, things like that. This is like very much in line with how do we build spacecraft that are safe? How do we sterilize hospitals? How do we protect our food? What the heck are bacteria doing? And how are they doing this? So this story is so old because the bacteria was found back when the Perseverance rover was being built. That's on Mars right now. And in
so
that
we contaminated Mars, great.
And see, that's a really interesting thing is when we're going to Mars, one of the big things we're trying to do with Mars missions is determine if life is there now or has ever been there in the past. And if we're sending spacecraft there that have these dormant bacteria on them, then we are potentially contaminating this place. And would we ever know if any life we find there, if we find life there, would we ever know that it's not our contamination, that it's unique life to Mars? I don't know. That's a tough question to answer. But what we do know is that in that lab, in the Perseverance lab, they found not just known bacteria that they know about that can resist sterilization and massive environmental control, but they found new bacteria, novel bacteria that they didn't even know existed, that were just sitting there dormant on the surfaces, waiting for their time to be reawakened by whether either being given nutrients or for the environment to better reflect a metabolic state. So they found this bacteria, they confirmed, they brought it to another lab and they like gave it nutrients and woke it up and said, yep, that's a bacteria that can survive the incredibly harsh environments. And that then begs the questions we're asking. Are we going to contaminate Mars?
Are we contamination? Is that our origins? Is the origin of life alien bacteria contamination? These are open questions. We have no reason to believe that.
Do you know the Apollo 12 story?
No, go on.
Let me tell you. So the Apollo program back in the 60s and the 70s, they sent stuff to the moon before humans ever went there. Stuff landed on the ground. And then they started sending humans, Apollo 11 and 69 and Apollo 12 and all the way up to 17. And one of the missions on Apollo 12, they went out and they pulled out some of the stuff that had been sent before, so on a spacecraft that was sitting there on the surface for a while. They grabbed a piece of it and they brought it back to Earth because they wanted the camera that was on there or something. And they opened it up and they found bacteria on that thing that had been sitting on the moon for like 2 years. And they found bacteria and they're like, wait, did we just find life on the moon? No, they found contamination from the Earth facility, right? Indicating that bacteria...
And bacteria is what makes cheese, which means we could turn the moon into cheese in 10 billion years.
Apparently, yes, exactly. See, it's a good thing that you're here because I would never have thought of that, to turn the moon into cheese. See?
We might be doing that inadvertently. Dr. Jesse Rogerson. Jesse, thanks for talking to me about these science stories. I appreciate you coming on the show.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
On October 17th.
I'm an angel. See the wings?
Don't miss the new comedy Good Fortune, starring Seth Rogen, Aziz Ansari, and Keanu Reeves. Critics rave. It's heaven sent.
Let me have a budget, guardian angel?
Kinda.
You were very unhelpful.
Good Fortune, directed by Aziz Ansari. Rated R.